Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. As you can see in the studio, we've got them Daphne Blues. Now before we dive in, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to do so. Hit the bell notification so you know when new videos come up. Other than that, let's jump in and check out the guitar. Now first things first, this guitar is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just look at it. Now granted, I am a sucker for T-style guitars, but these Paoletti guitars are all handmade in Italy, and you start adding surf green or Daphne blue, and I'm all on board. It really harkens back to the 50s and 60s. But Paoletti does something that not any other makers do. Most makers use, alder, swamp ash, basswood, mahogany. These are all chestnut, and the bodies are roughly 150 years old. So they use reclaimed chestnut wood from wine barrels. And we're not talking about like wine barrels, we're talking about like giant caskets that would fill this room. So they've got all this chestnut wood, they reclaim it and make these astonishing guitars. All right, so let's start by taking a closer look at this guitar. Yeah, it's hard not to stare at this roasted flame maple neck. Absolutely magnificent. Now this is from a limited run from last year, but dealers in the States probably will still have some of these in stock. But normally, this is the Lounge series. Normally they come with the roasted maple neck with a teak fingerboard, which is like ebony. Looks absolutely fantastic as well. But really hard not to stare at this magnificent neck. The flame maple is just gorgeous. All right, so let's start up with the headstock. Now, the first thing you might notice and say is, Daryl, that is not a T-style headstock. And of course, you're right. We've got a T-style guitar with an S-style headstock. And that's going to make a certain set of people very happy because not everybody is a big fan of T-style headstocks, to put it mildly. Now, the second thing to notice is I can rub these tuning machines and the headstock all I want. No pokies, because we've got vintage split head tuning machines, which means the string ends go into the tuning machines. They won't, tear up your fingers as you're tuning your gig bag or anything like that. Great tuning machines. Now flipping the guitar around, you can see the back of the headstock is just as gorgeous as the front. The flame on this neck, my goodness. Anyway, we've got Kluson Deluxe tuning machines. They hold tune really, really well. Now moving on down the neck, we get to a really important component. This is the nut. And thankfully on this Paoletti, it is a bone nut. And as you guys know, I always talk about it because how it's cut and what material it's made out of really will help dictate if your guitar is going to hold tune or not. So a really important component. And I've got to say, this is one of the nicest cut nuts I've ever seen on any guitar ever. The luthiers at Paoletti did an awesome job. Even the shoulders here are kind of rounded, so sometimes they're just squared off because it's not really that important. But here they really took care to match the width of the neck, and the shoulders are all rounded off very, very smooth. Now, as you guys know, the main portion of the neck is roasted flame maple, and as I've mentioned, it's very, very beautiful. We've just got some basic black dot inlays, which is very traditional. And the overall feel of the neck is very traditional. It's slightly on the thicker side, not quite like, a 52 Telly with the U shape, but kind of close. It's kind of got full shoulders to it. And then it's not quite as round on the back. It sort of flattens out just slightly, so it's not a full U shape. It's kind of like a thick C is what I would describe it as. Fretwork, very, very nice. Obviously, there's no grittiness to it. They're polished up really nice, sliding, bending, very, very smooth, as you would expect from a handmade guitar. Fret ends are polished up nicely, no tooling marks. The finish is very nice, so a very, very premium neck. Now on the back side of the neck, we've got a traditional T-style joint with that really cool aged brass neck plate. Looks absolutely fantastic. I think it really goes with the overall aesthetic of this guitar. And considering the body is like 150 years old, using aged brass I think is just a beautiful touch. Now you may have noticed when we were looking at the headstock that there is no serial number either on the front or the back, because the serial number is kind of stamped right above the heel. So that's kind of universal with Paoletti guitars. This is where you're going to find the serial number. Now moving on to the front face of the guitar, there is a lot to take in. First of all, we've got this really cool Daphne blue finish with open grain. So it's a very light finish. You can feel, and see the grain through the finish. So it's not like a thick coat of poly, very light and very nice. We've got a custom wound set of Paoletti P90s. And of course, we've got all that aged brass, the pick guard, the trem plate, the control panel. We've got Italian shotgun shell knobs, very, very cool. Output jack, and as I mentioned, neck plate and trem cover. So all of that, aged brass with the open grain Daphne blue finish just gives a very, very beautiful vintage vibe. Now, a couple other things I should quickly mention is we've got a trem system on this guitar, and I'm quite familiar with it because it's the same one as on their stratospheric model. Works really, really well and just adds to the versatility of this guitar. Secondly, check out this quote-unquote binding. So this guitar is not actually relict in any way, but the binding is very unusual. I haven't seen this on any other guitar. Basically, all they've done is remove the finish, like you might see on a modern guitar, but on this kind of guitar, it just gives a very different look. So really unique in terms of the binding. So that's a quick look at this guitar. Of course, I will link to it in the video description below. You guys can click there to find out all the specs. All right, you guys, it's time for some tones, and today, you guessed it, we are plugged into a Paoletti amp. It's kind of like a companion amp to the guitar. Same finish, same styling, same, 150-year-old chestnut wood. Really cool. I'll take some shots as I'm talking. But basically, yeah, it's a 6-watt, small, lightweight combo. Very simple. We've got a volume and a tone. And because it's 6 watts, as the volume goes up, it breaks up into this beautiful, natural overdrive. Sounds really great. And that's why, it's kind of like the ultimate blues amp because it just distorts wonderfully. Yeah, like I said, 10-inch JENSEN speaker. All the components, that aged brass looks absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to be using that, and I'm going to be miking it up with my Rode NT1. All right, you guys, I've got the little Paoletti amp right next to me. It is pointing away from me because, although it's 6 watts, it is quite loud. So one of the coolest things that you can do is take a small tube amp, crank the volume until it starts to produce that natural, beautiful overdrive full of overtones and sustain. So I've got the volume about 3/4. Let's see what kind of overdrive we can get out of this amp. And of course, check out these P90 pickups. So just absolutely beautiful. There's nothing quite like it. Let's play a little bit more. And when we back the volume off, check out the middle position here. All right, so I've dialed the volume on the amp back down to about 1/3. Let's check out some clean tones. Let's start with both P90s on at once, see what that sounds like. Let's go to the neck pickup. Both together. And bridge. All right, so now that we've checked out some of the basic tones on the Paoletti, let's throw it in with a mix. I'm going to play over a backing track. Link to the track, as always, is in the video description below. Let's jam. So here are my final thoughts on the old Paoletti setup. Let's start with the amp. Well, first of all, this thing is super fun. Crank it up, anywhere past about a third, and you're gonna start, compressing and saturating and getting, those tube amp overtones. You go to a half and you just have like the perfect blues tone. Anywhere past, and you start to get into like classic rock territory too. Now, if you need clean headroom, this is not your amp. At 6 watts, like I said, it starts to like compress and distort in a beautiful way, anywhere, past about a third of the volume. Once you get to half, you're just in heaven. So really awesome amp. I think the aesthetics are really cool. And yeah, I mean, you guys heard what it sounds like. It sounds absolutely fantastic. Now, as for the guitar, well, this thing is pure custom shop quality. And it's got a little bit of that Italian flair. Always interesting, never boring. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, in terms of the tones, well, I think they really nailed these P90 tones. And just like on their Stratospheric, I think those were some of the nicest single coil tones I've listened to. These P90s are fantastic as well. I could sit on this neck pickup forever and just, play blues tones. Sounds absolutely amazing. And the bridge is bright and biting. Perfect for kind of 60s, 70s kind of tones. Really, really great. Now, Paoletti is a legitimate custom shop, so if you wanted to build your dream guitar, or you wanted a specific finish, or different kind of bridge, or pickups, neck profile, frets, they can do it all for you, and most of the time, it doesn't affect the price because all their guitars are custom shop guitars. So Paoletti will ship their guitars and amps worldwide, which is awesome, and they're really engaging with their community. As you guys may know, Italy has been hit hard with the coronavirus, so Paoletti is supporting, the doctors, the nurses, the first responders. You can check out all that information on their website, but really amazing to see a company like this kind of pull together with their community and support each other. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, be sure to do so. Other than that, my personal links for our t-shirt store, tab store, all in the video description below. Have yourself a great day. Take care.